Yeah. What's going on, everybody, man? How y'all feel, man? It's another great evening. Tune in to another Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, and I'm your man, Clarence Brown, relationship coach Clarence Brown, certified relationship coach, author, speaker, host of the Male Translations podcast. Got another great live for you guys tonight, man. We're going in on a great topic tonight, man. I have my guest. She is a relationship coach and influencer in relationships as well. She's doing her thing. I I can't say enough about her, man. Great content, great information every time I see her doing her thing. So just in a minute, man, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna bring my guest in right now. Right now, I'm doing the Instagram and I'm YouTubing it, guys. So everybody that's out there watching it and may watch the replay right now, you can go follow, friend, like, subscribe. The Male Translations podcast. That's on Facebook and Instagram and also YouTube as well. So what's going on, Allison? Give me one quick second. So for those of you that, like I said, don't know who I am, I'm a relationship coach, Clarence Brown, certified relationship coach. What I do is I help to bridge the gap of communication and understanding between men and women and overall improve your dating experiences. So before we get started, man, be reminded to please go check out my website, man. I'm working on an online course right now to help women with attracting a quality man. You know, I know it's confusion when it comes to attracting a guy that's of quality, also in just kind of determining, you know, if a person is worth your time. So I did the research of over this past year, interviewing over 200 men and trying to nail down what is it that men are looking for in terms of a woman that they choose to make a girlfriend and ultimately marry. So that's my latest thing coming out. I also have my book, Come and Talk to Me, The Women's Guide to Why Men Don't Communicate. That's also on my website. Go check that out. Again, that's relationshiphealing.co, not .com, the relationshiphealing.co. I've got an online course that I'm working on as well, my book, events, merchandise, and couples coaching strategies as well. So I'm going to bring in my guest for this evening, man, the lovely Allison Wellington. Let me get her right on in here. We're going to get right onto it. Let me see. Allison, what's happening?
Hey.
How you feeling?
How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. My mom say I can't grumble.
That's right.
So how you feeling? How everything been with you?
The rain here in New York has been so today is just like a dark day. It's a cold day. We had a little springtime a week ago, and then since then the temperature's plummeted. So I'm a reflection of the weather today in New York City. That's all. Other than that, I'm happy to be here with you.
Most definitely. Well, I'm going to try to lift your spirits. We're going to get right into the topic, guys. Tonight, we're going to be discussing, does the Black community encourage marriage? Just kind of talk about, the kind of standing state of the African-American community, the Black community, when it comes to moving on and jumping the broom with the loved one that you have in your life, right? So does the Black community encourage marriage? So real quick, before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to one of my sponsors, Pink Lace 22. Y'all can go check her out. Pink Lace 22 lingerie. They got everything that you need. They got you covered. They got everything from lingerie. They've got lipstick. They have couples games. Pink Lace 22 is your number one online local shopping boutique. They carry lingerie, loungewear, bath and body care, and also the Give Them Lip collection. So you ladies out there that love to keep your lips popping and love you, staying clean, staying shiny, and being able to attract those quality men like we spoke about earlier, go check out Pink Lace 22. They got everything you need to make your time special, exciting, and just relaxing. So shout out to Pink Lace 22. When you go over there, your first purchase will be 20% off if you use the code MT 2021. Again, that's MT 2021. You know, my wife, she love a great deal, so I put her on to it, have her put my code into it. And for anybody that's out there that's looking for some loungewear, some bath and body wear, some lingerie and whatnot, get that 20% discount now. You don't be playing. I know y'all got y'all stimmy. You did. Most definitely. So Allison, I know you're a busy woman. I'm gonna get right on into it. The topic, guys, is, does the Black community encourage marriage, right? And so I always have my little questions that I want to really kind of chop it up. So I sent those over to you, and I want to kind of get it started with this one question because I see a lot that's going on both in social media and in the streets in general, right? And when it comes to marriage, it's this overwhelming perception. I want to have you kind of touch on it yourself, being a professional relationship coach as well. And what is it in our community, right, the Black community, that creates, should I say, this gross perception as if marriages are all either dysfunctional, the people in the marriage aren't really truly happy, or the people that are together, they just settle. Like, what, in your opinion, has led us to this point where most people that aren't married just have this, outside looking in viewpoint of, oh yeah, it ain't really cracked up. It ain't all that it's cracked up to be.
So before I got into coaching, initially, if I could take it back a couple of years, I initially was a teacher. I was a history teacher. My bachelor's degree is actually in education. And so I've always had an interest in history, in American history, and as a Black person, in Black history, right? And of course, Black history isn't all slavery and civil rights, and we know that.
Right.
But to answer your question, I think that a lot of the negative beliefs that we have in regards to marriage and in regards to family overall comes from the mistreatment of Blacks in America. I think a lot of it comes from in regards to the enslaved people in the Americas, right? Former enslaved people jumping the broom, and then the next day their wife or their husband could be taken away from them at any given moment.
Right.
Their child could be snatched from their arms at any given moment and sold down the river to the next plantation to never be seen again. So I think a lot of it comes from this. There's an expression. It's not like officially in the community per se, but this post-traumatic slave syndrome.
True.
This fear that we have about lots of things, but in particular about whether or not you'll be able to keep your family together, whether or not marriage is even worth it in the first place, because at any given time, any old body can come and snatch that family away from you. So I think that is the root of it all. And then from there, of course, in regards to the development of WIC programs and welfare, where Black men in particular, or anyone who's eligible, right? But we're talking about Black people right now, where Black men were not encouraged to be in the household. If there was a Black man that was in your household as a woman with children, then you would not be able to receive the benefits that others, quote unquote, single moms were able to receive. And so a lot of times that forced the Black man out of the house. So I think a lot of it is social. I think a lot of it is economic, and that's what causes the Black community to have the lowest marriage rates in compared to our counterparts here in America.
Yeah, most definitely. You mentioned a lot of great things that contribute to why it seems to be that this notion of getting married nowadays is just being more and more rejected. People are kind of really looking left when they should be looking right when it comes to moving on, trying to find somebody that's a lifetime companion. And right now, it's just, I think the notion is we don't need it. We don't need it. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. You know how these electronics go. You there? There you go. Allison, you still there? Woo. So yeah, I mean, I think nowadays it's just kind of this, I don't need it. It's giving up a level of power. It's giving up a level of control over my life. I have to conform to somebody else, trying to satisfy another person, having to hear them tell me all the ways that I need to improve and all my flaws, and so on and so forth, to where a person kind of feels like I'd rather be on my own and, operate to the beat of my own drum. Right. And I think that also in our community is one of the major things where when you haven't had that control over your life, to once you have it and have that freedom, you don't really want to have to, really have to move like somebody else wants you to move, or have to be responsible and accountable to somebody else, Uh-oh, you cutting out. That's that rain. That's not New York rain. I couldn't hear you, Allison. Do me a favor. Why don't we jump off and reconnect? Because right now it's you can see me, you can hear me. It's a little bit of trouble. Okay. All right, cool. You know I'm tripping. I thank you, Callie. I appreciate you letting me know you're here. So here's the deal, right? In our community, it's just I think that both men are looking at women are looking at men in our community and saying who's going to make the first move to recovery, right? Now, I believe that this year in 2021 is the year of recovery. This is not something I thought about, but just being locked in with my ministry and what and believing in what my pastor has said as far as 2021, right? And so 2021 being the year of recovery, I think that a lot of the things that we're seeing is to really put an end to this, line that's separating Black men and Black women, or at least, for me, I think that we're starting to come around. But first, we have to really say, okay, who's going to make the first step? And I think that this pointing fingers of men pointing fingers, women pointing fingers is something that really is not allowing us to really turn the corner. And what do you think about that? As far as like, do you feel like nowadays you see a lot of us kind of turning our noses up at each other as opposed to trying to find a way to work through the issues and traumatic situations that we experience?
I agree with you. I think a lot of folks are turning their nose up to marriage, but let me tell you what I think the true root is, at least from a woman's perspective.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of women who are in my age range, in their 30s, in their early 40s, the thing is that they're afraid that they're never going to get to their goal if they have a goal of marriage. We don't want to be presumptuous, but a lot of women do. And so I think their fear is because they feel like they're not going to be able to attain it. So now they turn their nose to it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, it's a defense mechanism. So I didn't want to get married anyway. Yes, you did this, but you're afraid it's not going to happen for you. So you would feel better if you were the one doing the rejecting versus allowing someone to reject you. So I think a lot of it is turning your nose, yes, but I don't think it's because they really truly believe that marriage is not valuable, but because it seems like it's so difficult to attain in the Black community, and I'm just talking about statistically, right? In comparison to our counterparts, then I'm better off saying this is something that I never wanted versus saying this is something that I did want and I was unsuccessful in being able to find it. But the other side of it is, and you tell me if I'm wrong, right?
Right.
But something that personally gets on my nerves, that I see and I hear on my own, is that I find that, and this is not me pointing fingers, that men of many times, and this is a cross race, will say things that diminish marriage to their friends. So it's like, buddy, I gotta go. The wife be tripping. When you put that kind of stuff out there, then you're gonna be teaching your buddies that this is something that I don't want. And a woman instead, a married woman would say, girl, I gotta go because my husband's waiting on me. They put a spin on it, which is, sis, I don't know what you're doing with your life, with your lonely ass life, but I have to get home to my husband. Where a guy, he may not even mean it. Like, he doesn't even necessarily mean he doesn't want to go home, but I think he's afraid of looking like a simp or something. And then the energy or the presentation instead is, damn, bro, I would have stayed, but wife, you be tripping. Like, nah, say I want to go home to my wife. Mm-hmm. I feel like that message is being shared to the single guy, giving them the impression that marriage is some terrible thing. And so, well, of course they're not going to want to get down if they see that their boy isn't enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could be wrong. That's just been, what I've observed.
No, it's not right. That's not accurate. That's not true. That's not 100% inaccurate. And in fact, I think with those situations, they're more the exception, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't heard that before, and I have. But I think overall, most guys are like, man, all right, man, I'm about to go home. My lady, man, go home, to my kids or whatever. It's more of that as opposed to man, she be tripping. Here we go. And I think that those examples are not the majority, but they do happen. So it's not to say that you're completely, crazy because of what. No, you're right that it does happen, and there are men that have those situations. But I think overall, more men speak about going home to their women in a positive light as opposed to a negative. But what you did say did spark a thought in my mind of the past before I got married, right? And I'm gonna ask you this question. I know it's kind of out of order, but I want to ask you because what you just said just made me think about it, right? And the older guys would always warn me because see, when I proposed to my wife when I was 23, and I got married when I was 26. Didn't have kids until I was 34. Which sometimes women be like, man, bro, you a unicorn. Like, well, you sure you black? Let me see if I can rub some of that off. See if, if you black facing it today, right? But I think that what that time frame showed me was that before I got married, the older guys were kind of like, man, are you sure? Are you ready for the changes that will happen once you get married, right? Because the biggest notion to kind of piggyback on something that you mentioned when it comes to sometimes how a man that is married will kind of dissuade a man who isn't from actually jumping the broom and taking that step and getting cold feet is that notion of, hey, man, listen, are you ready for what will change after you get married? And so that I think is one of a bigger statement that's kind of a discouragement to men that are unaware. And so I got to ask you in your personal experience, I know we dabble professionally, but we also personal individuals have our own lives. And personally, I want to know, were you encouraged to get married before you did? Or was it emphasized by family and friends? If so, or if not, why was that?
So I'll start with friends. As we already stated, right? Statistically, we do not have a lot of Black men and Black women who are married in comparison to our counterparts.
Right.
So with my friends, I did not have a lot of my friends who were pressuring me or making me feel as though I was behind and not being married yet.
Right.
I got married last year. I was at 33, so I didn't have a lot of friends who pressured me because they also were not married, and none of my friends have gotten married since I've been married, right? Mm-hmm. So no, my friends didn't pressure me because they weren't there. So pressuring me to do something that you haven't even done yourself, that's ridiculous.
Right.
In regards to my family, my mom did not pressure me. My mom didn't pressure my sisters. There's three of us together. And but I think that she's a rare breed. I don't know. She's also Caribbean. And so
from where? I'm Caribbean too. My dad is from St. Kitts. Where is your family from?
St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
All right. That's where it's at. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know.
That's what it is. Because I think also it makes a difference with Black American or African or Caribbean American. But my mom didn't pressure me either. Now, she didn't dissuade me and she didn't speak negatively of marriage. But I don't know. I think that I'm an exception because we didn't really talk about romance. I think that sometimes can be problematic because when you have a more traditional household, your parents took the line of parenting, I am not your friend, mm-hmm. right? So we're not talking about how is the guy who came over for Thanksgiving last year.
Right.
We're not having friendly type conversation. I think that my mom would probably only speak of marriage if I specifically came to her and said, Mom, this is a concern I have, or Mom, can you give me some advice? But my mom has never stuck her head in that area of my life. So maybe I'm different, maybe it's a cultural thing, but I did not receive any pressure from friends or family in regards to marriage.
So I got a question from one of my YouTube viewers right now. Shout out to Irviana. If I said that wrong, forgive me, but I just wanted to show you some love. You'll just do. She said her mother did not pressure her at all too. But I don't know if I said pressure. I don't know if that's the right word or not. I kind of meant like, was it a priority? Because I covered this topic before. Do we raise our children to have success in relationships, right? And I think that a lot of the times, as young men, even if it may not materialize as they get older, we try to emphasize the things that they need to know as far as being chivalrous and being a gentleman and just being a considerate person, right? Especially when dealing with the opposite sex. You don't put your hands on a woman. Hey, make sure you let your sister or your mom eat first. Hey, let them get their plate first. Just certain things that's kind of trying to be instilled in them from a young age. And, if they turn away from it, that's on their own. But most of the time, I think as parents, that's the emphasis on young boys. But when it comes to young women, especially in the Black community, it's more of a, hey, don't, what, leave them boys alone. You ain't ready yet. No, you don't date until you 21, those type of things, to where it almost makes a woman fearful of men, because this notion that, hey, if you mess with them, they're going to take advantage of you, that you're going to have problems if you focus on that. But yet I think that doesn't allow us to be included in whatever experiences they have, knowing that they're going to have them, regardless of our parents. We were going to do what we was going to do and figure things out on our own. And however that came, that's how it was going to come. But yet I think nowadays, in my mind, as I have my son and he's 9 months, I'm thinking of what I want to know and have to help him, work through and guide him through that process. I want to know about what he's experiencing. So, because I know he's going to go through it. So I think, do you think that your family actually emphasize or prioritize it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that my family is small, and at least in the U.S. So when you say family, but I keep saying my mom because she was the only adult woman that I was around. I didn't have any aunts. I didn't have any grandmas or anything like that. So my mom did not prioritize marriage. However, I can tell you that she made plenty of slick comments throughout my life. So if you keep your house like this and how you keep your room, you're not going to be able to keep a husband. So she's made comments of the sort saying that I need to get ABC together, because if I don't get it together, then I won't be worthy enough or I won't be able to keep a husband. So I think that the impression was there that was the expectation, like eventually. But there was no blatant conversation like, Allison, you're 29, Allison, you're 30, Allison, you're 31, Allison, you're 32. There was nothing of that. I think that, to go back to a statement that you were making, especially in regards to Black people, I think that there's a lot of emphasis that's put on women in order to establish themselves from their family over marriage. And again, we talked about like the history and the traumas that Black people have faced in this country, where many times, for one reason or another, Black women are left to lead or left to the key parent in a house. How to establish myself, to become educated, to have my career, and then love becomes secondary, because as a Black person in this country, a Black woman, if you leave yourself to rely on a man, statistically you're about to be asked out. So it is in your best interest, at least that's what we're taught, right?
Right.
I feel that we're taught. So it's in your best interest to make sure that you have your SHIT together so that you can provide for yourself. And then if a guy comes along to complement that, then amazing. But if not, we don't want you in a position where you are homeless or getting whooped or whatever it is by some guy. You know what I mean? So you have to establish yourself. And again, I think that has to do with the history of Black Americans in this country. So I understand, but as you have created this conversation, now we have a marriage crisis on our hands, because we have all of these women who feel as though they are so established that they are above marriage, or they are so established that they don't need a man or what have you. At least that's what they say on the surface. As I said before, I think it's a facade.
Me too.
But as a result...
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
Oh, yeah. So as a result of feeling this pressure to have to establish ourselves because we cannot rely on anybody, now we've established ourselves, and now we feel like we don't have to rely on anybody. And guess what? I rely on my husband, and my husband relies on me. Facts.
Right. I rely heavily on my wife. You see the picture up there? That ain't just to show, to high sign out here, but is it really because that's how I feel about it, right? But I get a lot of advice. I get a lot of assistance from my wife. She's my personal assistant, in a lot of ways. But I think what you said, it is so true, because I think when you talk about going as far as back as slavery, I think that what was created from that point was a survival mindset. When you talk about women that felt like, hey, listen, I got to do for self or my children as well. And I don't know if the man that I'm with is going to stay, or if my family is going to be pulled and broken apart. I have to find a way to be strong enough and have strength to survive through all of it. Right. And so that was passed down from generation to generation, where, as I said when I spoke about the young men and how we do try to instill chivalry in them, at the same time, the same narrative is preached to young boys. When you hear about, hey, leave them girls alone. You need to stay in them books. Hey, don't be messing off with them girls. It's almost like, hey, they're a distraction that will put you in a vulnerable position, right? And the same thing could be said for women when it came to, as you said, you have women who had a mindset of, if you put your trust in a man, then you're going to be put in an unfortuitous position where you're now not going to be able to survive or take care of your own. So from that birth this, hey, regardless of anything else, I'm going to take care of myself, and hopefully the chips fall in my favor, but I'm okay with the chips falling however they may. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. What you just said also reminded me of some movie I've seen or something along the lines where the emasculation of the Black man, especially during slavery, right? Where this master could walk up in your cabin and rape your wife right in front of you, and you can't do a damn thing. So she's supposed to turn to you and rely on you to be what level of protection? Right? You can't even protect my body. Forget about protecting this household. Forget about protecting our children and our family. So I think it's deeply rooted, and again, from the roots of Black people in this country throughout, and even until today, we have unfortunately have been put in a circumstance where I think a lot of women feel as though I have to establish myself, which is a safe play. It's not an unintelligent play. It's not an unintelligent play for you to say, let me establish myself in my career, in my business before I look for a mate. Now, the problem is that by the time you've established yourself in your career, you're 35 years old, you might mess around and have a geriatric pregnancy. You might mess around and not be able to find a partner who's suitable. And now we're in the situation where we're in, where 30-something% of Black women are married. Right. But compared to 55%, I think, of whites.
We have to protect ourselves, though, not just from diseases and STDs, but from the fact that I think, while nobody is going to call their child a mistake, not even me, I would never, and I don't, and it was planned, and I knew it would, but the point I think is, though, is a lot of the times, as you said, hey, you go on and you try to take care of yourself, secure your future, and make sure that, again, that you're able to survive, if nothing else, right? If you never were to meet, the special guy that you deserve and desired, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm still able to take care of myself. I think even still, there is a mindset of, I just gotta do it. And I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I'm gonna move on, right? Because here's the thing. I maybe might, rub some people the wrong way, but I oftentimes, as a married man, I think to myself, I say, man, when I'm looking for someone to service my car, I need to know that they are a trained, a certified mechanic, somebody who's been through the ins and outs, that knows a little bit more than somebody that's kind of off Craigslist, that's just kind of, just shoot me $50 and, it's a carburetor type situation. I need to go to someone who specializes in their field or is walking within that particular area, right? So my question is this, right? How do you think having so many unmarried or never been married relationship influencers affect the narrative on long-term relationships and marriages? How do you think that affects it? Because sometimes I think to myself that the narrative I think the narrative sometimes isn't about having a relationship, making it work, working together, understanding the ups and downs and what it takes. Is more about getting what you can get out of a relationship or what you can get the other person to give you. So what do you think about that?
So, in my opinion, and I agree with what you said, if I were to hire a coach or listen to a coach or hire a therapist and go into sessions with folks, buy their books, I would like for them to have been through the circumstance so that I know that they have a first-hand experience, right? Like they've been through this before. So that would definitely be my preference. Now, I'm not saying that these people aren't knowledgeable, and I'm not saying that these people aren't worthy, but I do question whether or not they can really speak fully in regards to the experience that they've never been through, right?
Right.
At the same time, I do want to point out something that I think is a hypocrisy. What I find is that for me, as a female coach, many times I constantly get in the comments, constantly get in lives, constantly get DMs asking if I'm married. And I feel as though for the male coaches, they don't get that. I feel like male coaches get a lot of leeway, and those are usually the most popular ones. And those are the ones who are not married. And then, however, they're the ones who are getting the accolades for this amazing knowledge that they're dropping, which many times I agree with, to be honest with you. Sometimes the delivery sucks, but I agree with the message. But my point is that no one's asking them. So why is it that in order for me as a woman to be able to impart knowledge on someone else in regards to relationships and marriage, that I have to be married? However, these gentlemen are the most successful ones, at least seemingly, right? Like they're the face of Black coaching, and they don't have to be, and it's A-okay and it's acceptable. So I mean, that wasn't your question, but that was just something that's always been heavy on my heart that quite annoys me.
Listen, I definitely agree with you, man. Like, and when you speak about, and I'm not gonna say no names, I'm sure pretty much people can kind of put a finger on, who they feel like is that, on top influencer doing their thing, right? And I don't want to take no shots because, I don't knock the player. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So I understand to a degree that, hey, if you have an audience, you got to speak to your audience and understand, how to communicate with them. But like I said, it bothers me sometimes when I'm looking at it like, you know, I've seen it in certain events where I'm on a panel, right, and I'm speaking with other men as well, and it's almost like the women gravitate more toward the one guy who's single than the others that are married. And oftentimes it's like, well, we want to know, I want to know from somebody that's been there, that's done that. My mom used to say, hey, you can't tell somebody how to get somewhere you've never been. But yet sometimes the person who has never been seems to be disconnected from what's going on in the day to day. And people feel like, well, since you married, I don't really want to hear what you have to say. And the person who, like I said, you could have said something that was, gold, but yet they want to hear from the single person. And it almost is like, well, if anything, that person still is on the market. And if they are such a great guy and have this wealth of knowledge, they'll be a great date. They'll be a great husband and all of that. But I would say, though, as a male relationship coach, it's not easy on this side as well. I'll tell you that for doggone sure. Because the thing is that as a man, you get assumed to be biased to men. So when it comes to dealing with couples, especially, it's a little bit harder, which is why, I do my sessions, I split them up. Just like how when the police catch, you and your friends doing some dirt, they're going to do what first? They're going to separate you. Because a lot of the times I was talking about on the live yesterday, how when you have them together, when I first was doing my counseling, I had them together and we start, breaking down certain things. And I asked them a question and they kind of just look over at their partner like, well, what should I say type of thing. Is almost like, they have some type of agreement, or they don't really want to hurt the other person to say something that they really feel out of, not want to hurt the other person. And so being biased to men is something that a man as a male relationship coach is one of the uphill battles I have to fight. But I also, like I said, sometimes I just look at it like, how do you know if you've never been there, but yet you're giving some advice. Some of it is good and some of it is more like keeping people single because it's not giving the real display of what relationships and love is all about.
I agree with you. And you said something that was profound, and now I done lost it. I was just thinking the whole time while you were speaking, and you said experience, or in regards to experience, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you gave the perfect example. If I want somebody to fix my car, I want them to have that experience. Now, I can imagine, like, if there is I remember now, bias. So, yes, I think that the assumption is, too, that as a woman that I would have biases and I would be on the side of a woman. And so what I recommend, and I actually just told my husband just the other day, I recommend in a couple, if there is one person who's seeking out counseling, which is usually the woman, no disrespect, they're usually the ones who's making the calls and trying to find and trying to fix, right? I recommend that whoever is searching for a therapist or a coach or a counselor, that person should choose the gender of the coach to be the other one. So if I'm looking for therapy or I'm looking for counseling or coaching for my relationship with my husband, right, I am for sure going to choose a man and probably a Black man. And for the same reason you just said, I want him to know that I'm not here looking for a professional to come and tell us what I want you to believe.
Right.
I'm going to purposely choose a man so that when I have my argument and I state my claim and I explain everything, and he still agrees with me, then clear as day, it has nothing to do with gender bias. It has to do with what's practical. Now, if he says that I'm absolutely wrong, guess what? I chose him. So I don't have the right to then go around and say, oh, no, he's just saying that because y'all both boys. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big proponent of whoever is the one who's doing the research to find the counselor, the therapist, the coach, they should choose the gender of their mate so that their mate knows that this isn't a setup. I actually do want to find a professional who can come in and who can help us.
That's what's up. And I never thought about it that way. But like, it's just one of those things as a male relationship coach that, you got to deal with, because of course there's always one of the two parties that feels like, you know what, why am I here? Like, here we go. Like, watch, she about to start talking about me, or watch, she's about to start saying some out of pocket stuff. Right. And then you feel like they feel like the counselor, the therapist is in support of, what disrespectful commentary might have came out, right? And so, especially if it's the same gender as yourself. So I definitely hear where you're coming from, and that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense, right? And I want to ask you, as we move in this conversation forward, which I think is pretty awesome. What is one thing, and I'm getting in your personal life. I know tonight, I hope you don't mind. What is one thing that you thought? Because here's the thing, I want people to understand, because again, I'm married, you're married, but at the same time, hearing from people who are married, I think, and just knowing what it really looks like, what you really encounter and deal with is necessary for people to understand what it's like being on the other side and not, have that vision be, somewhat nebulous and unclear, because most people that haven't been there, like I say, you can't really know until you've been in those shoes. So I want to know from a woman's perspective, and I'll give you mine as a man of the male perspective of this question, which is, what's one thing that you thought you knew about marriage that now you realize was not true? If you could think of one thing, what would that be?
So I'll be honest with you. I am a newlywed, and so you can't tell me nothing about marriage being hard, like I'm just in heaven. So it's really hard for me to answer that question, just because I know what it takes to get here, and that's what I work with my clients on, right? Helping them find the love and commitment that they deserve. But once we are in the marriage, and I say, you know what, I might not be the right coach for you, because right now it's bliss. And so I can't even answer that question fully, because I'm in heaven, brother. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's surprising. I guess to answer the question the best that I can say that what has surprised me about marriage is this honeymoon phase. Like, I've heard about it. I know that there's this thing, you're so in love,
right,
but I never experienced it. And it's not like the butterflies that you get when you start dating somebody new. It is not like that. Like, I literally think of this guy all day long. Every decision that I need to make about which shade of green should we get for the curtain, baby, what you think about this, baby? Like, we have a joke where I say, I stand and wait for him at the door. Like, it's 4:30, right? If he beats me home, when I pull up and I see his car in front of the house, I'm excited about the fact that I'm going to walk home into my house and my husband's already there. So, and again, I know that's maybe not what you were looking for, but because I'm in this heavenly bliss, that surprised me, because I just didn't know. I heard about the honeymoon phase, but I didn't know what it would feel like, and it really is magical.
That's what's up, man. And listen, I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of women that don't believe it. They wouldn't believe it, but hearing it from you, from the horse's mouth, even, I'm not, forgive me, I'm just saying, I think that, yeah, I think that's awesome to hear, because of course, that goes against a lot of people's mindsets and mind frames and outlooks when it comes to marriage, because there's, like I said, there's always a negative outlook on it. And so I have one of my YouTube subscribers, one of my viewers, Jeff, says he loves your honesty. And also he's got a question here. He says, a statement. He says, she's right. A lot of times people ask for advice, but they're really not trying to hear from married people. Ain't that crazy? Now, again, that's just like me going to get my car worked on, and the guy said, hey man, listen, it's your oil. You need to, do this and that. And me not having any expertise on it, telling him, man, you lying, man, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna go get a second opinion. And when I go to second opinion, they tell me the same thing he said, and I tell them they lying, they're crazy. Like that it happens. This is, again, an uphill battle where you have people who are dealing with issues but still aren't ready to face the issues and work through them at the time. And again, they're paying you money, they're asking you to come in and help them with their situation, and so they still have expectation for you to fix it, to be able to somehow come up and get me out of this funk, get me out of this spell, or out of this mind frame that I'm in. And especially the other part is the one that may feel like, hey, I'm bringing you on because I want for you to change this situation. And so that's one of the things that I see a lot as well, where people kind of, they say they want that assistance, but then when they get in the room, it's, they folding up like lawn chairs, or they're really closing up like clamshells. It's hard out here in these streets. And I think we got another comment here on Instagram. We just show some love to Sweet Lady 91, says my honeymoon phase didn't last for shit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The way you said it was funny. I'm not trying to laugh at you, right? But here's the thing.
She's laughing. She put a little emoji.
Okay. So for me, I think that one of the things that was kind of like the mindset, what people say, oh, hey, be mindful of this, be aware of this, young brother. Hey, if you're gonna do that, make sure you know this and that. And I think that what I thought about marriage based upon the circles of friends that I had, some of my close road dogs, and how we was moving at the time, and then what it was after I got married, is it really, if you have somebody that's genuinely for you and you're actually are on the same page, it's a beautiful thing. I put up a post with Ace Hood, and he was speaking about how his wife is like his best friend, and like they just had this connection that's so crazy, like that she's his everything, his family is his everything. And there aren't as many men getting credit for having that mentality and outlook on a relationship and marriage as people would project. So like I said, there's a narrative that, oh yeah, they're not really happy, like come on. And truthfully, as you said it for yourself, and I'll say it for myself, my life improved tenfold, hundredfold when it came to me getting married. Because here's the thing, I feel like what you're saying is that with your relationship, when you got married, you felt this peace. You feel this sense of, what, I have security. Like, I know I can trust in this person. I know what I have. Like, our bond is amazing. We're really close to one another. So it's like you say, you think about him all the time. How can I help him? What does he need? When is he coming home? What are we going to do together? Things like that. And I think that a lot of times those statements aren't made enough to where people still can aspire to be married. And for me, even as a man, as a married man, I'll say that it's the same thing for me, where my life, I can say 100% without a doubt that it has improved. I'm eating more regularly. I have somebody that's concerned about my health. If I cough there, hey, you good over there? You know what I'm saying? Especially in this, we coming out this pandemic, vaccines and all, but still it's out here. So hey, hold up. Get you some of that vitamin C off the counter. You know what I mean? Making sure that a player is up to speed and need whatever he needs. So I just think that's great. That's awesome. So let me move on. And I just want to say, everybody that's watching right now, if you do have questions, if you're on Instagram and you want your question to be shown and read and answered, I love to do a segment with my coaching crew called Ask a Relationship Coach. So if you hit that question mark at the bottom of the screen with the circle on it, put a question in there, we'll be able to highlight it and show it and answer it as well. So let me see if I got anything going on YouTube. Everybody that's locked in, showing love. I appreciate everybody right now. So here's the question, right, Allison? Hold on. Oh man, what was the one I had? I don't think I asked that earlier. Okay, so a lot of the times marriages and commitments are grossly perceived to be dysfunctional in the Black community. They're not truly happy, or the narrative of, oh, she settled. I don't want to settle. So why is that, do you believe, within our community, where there's just this overwhelming notion that if you do see someone that's married, they're either because they settled or they actually do have an inside dysfunctional relationship and they're not really happy? There's always this, oh yeah, they just showing out for the gram, they doing it for this, doing it for the snap. And that's not always the case. Why is that?
So I think that goes back to what we discussed a little bit earlier about the facade. I'm not confident that women or men who are married say those things. I'm not confident that married folks will say, oh, they just faking it for the gram. Or married folks don't say, oh, their marriage is probably dysfunctional. He probably cheating on her. She only with him because of his money. I feel like those kind of comments come from single, displeased people. Notice I've said single and displeased, not just single, right? There's some folks who are happy to be single. But those who don't want to be single and feel as though marriage or significant lifelong partnership is out of reach for them, instead of them being upfront and saying, I am afraid I'm never going to find my husband. I am afraid I'm never going to have the family that I want.
Right.
It's easier for you to say, well, I ain't want it anyway. And I didn't want it anyway because look how that's up and I can do bad all by myself. So I think a lot of it has to do with the facade of, since I feel as though I can't achieve this, I'm going to talk down about it because it'll make me feel better about the fact that I did not achieve it.
Like Sweet Lady said, single and displeased, huge difference. And again, I made this post where I said, hey, it seems like married women are catching flack because, single women are looking at it like, oh, why is she all tucked up under him, and oh, she always gone, she don't never hang out, I don't get a call from her no more. And there are a lot of women that was like, man, you crazy. If anything, it's married women that turn their noses up at single women. And I don't know if, from what I see, that's and Instagram, YouTube, y'all let me know if it's different, y'all ladies out there. But I guess maybe that was one of those as a man statements. You was out of line, Clarence, because you don't even know, because you're not a woman. But I'm just going off what I see. Is it seemed like a lot of single women have more to say about married women and them having success in their relationships than it be the opposite. What do you see?
I think it really is who you surround yourself with, what your personal experience is, because what I see is actually the opposite of what you see. I see a lot more of the, and maybe again, because I got married late, right? I got married at 33. So late in consideration of where custom and being taught. So I'm going to be married by 25. But what I see more of is married women turning their nose up. Women with children turning their nose up than the other way around. And again, maybe because it's my circle where I have more unmarried friends, not necessarily single friends, but I have more unmarried friends than married friends. But that's definitely, and now that I'm on the quote unquote other side, I still feel as though there is an air of, I don't want to say the word arrogance, but it's 7:46. That's the only word that's coming to my mind. So don't beat me up, y'all. There's an air of arrogance that comes from married women as if they are better than. And you know what? For societal standards, they are. And let me explain why. Not because they actually are better human beings, right? But because in society, the standard and expectation is that in order for you to be a full woman, in order for you to come into your full womanhood, you should be a wife and a mother. That is the expectation.
Right.
And so you have not achieved your full womanhood, and that's the standard. This is not my opinion. This is my interpretation of the society that we live in. So you have not achieved your full womanhood if you're not a wife and a mom. And so, yes, you are better than in society's eyes because you've gotten to the pinnacle. Where a man, in my opinion, for our society is that if he's married, that's great. If he has children and married, that's great. If he's happy, but he could be an eligible bachelor. He's 50 years old and he's handsome, fit, he's attractive, and that's desirable. If you are a 50-year-old woman and you are unmarried, something is wrong with you. If you are a 50-year-old man and you are unmarried, he's waiting for the right one because he's handsome and he's doing well for himself, and so he's just playing the field.
I scoop him up, girl. Shoot, I give him a chance. Nah, but you absolutely right. And that you listen, you hit the nail right on the head. So let me see. I got one of my YouTube family is saying that those comments normally come from the haters. So even if it be married or single, those that kind of have a mentality of just kind of looking down, that a lot of the time those where those comments emanate from. So I got one more question, because I know you got to do your thing. So I'm gonna kind of turn this corner right here, and I got to ask you, what do you think we can do, not only as Black men and women, but also professionals, professional relationship coaches, authors, and you name it? What can we all do to make marriage more appealing to those that are kind of on the fence? Because whether it be true or not, whether it's those that say, hey, I don't want to be married, I'm single by choice, whatever the case is, for those that we know in secret or in sessions that make the proclamation that, yeah, I actually do want something real. I do want marriage. I do want somebody I can rely on. How can we make marriage more appealing to them that's kind of on the fringes and on the fence?
I think that one, in our personal lives, we need to talk about marriage more and the value of it and what we've gotten out of it, why it's valuable. Like we talked about earlier about changing the language on, bro, sorry, I gotta go, wife be tripping. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I gotta get home to my wife. I want to get home to my wife, right?
I don't know how many times I said that. I see, man, it's kind of getting bored. All right, man, I'm out, y'all. I'm gonna go home to my wife. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's how it is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So changing the language in our conversations, I think when you hear other people doing it, correcting that language, I think would make a big difference. And then obviously, publicly on our platforms, we need to talk about it. I think, to go back to what you said earlier, like, folks don't want to really show up too much because they're afraid that somebody else going to say, oh, why she always look under him, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, we need to get rid of that fear. And if you want to express your love and your affection for your partner or for your husband or for your wife publicly, you should do so without being worried that somebody's going to say something. We have to lead either in our private conversations and publicly to let folks know that marriage can be a beautiful thing if you are appropriately matched. And that's why you hire coaches like us or therapists or what have you to help develop the best version of you so you can be appropriately matched. That's where the problem is. The problem isn't marriage within itself. I don't think that marriage is this very difficult institution. And that's not the issue. It's finding the most appropriate match to you and growing together. That's the hard part. But marriage itself, and again, I am a newlywed, but marriage itself to me isn't the hard part. Is did you find someone who has what you are looking for, and are you pouring into each other? And that should happen before you walk down the aisle.
Most definitely.
Once you got that, to me, you're good to go.
Most definitely. And again, as a man, I recognize that a lot of people don't understand that it's still a give and take. It's still a commitment, because, as you've heard the statement that people make or seen in memes and whatnot, it is even a slogan right now. Marriage is not a feeling. Love is not a feeling. It's a commitment. So you find somebody that you can commit fully to and invest 100% into. And from there, just understand that even if you guys have disagreements, that you guys are committed to one another. So you should be committed to working through it to keep everything on the up and up and keep it growing and going. So, I oftentimes make the statement that you have to cross some rocky roads in order for you to get to that smooth pasture that you're really looking for. And I think a lot of people are looking to get to that point right off the gate and don't know that sometimes you got to work for things, because you might experience or encounter something in the 4th year of your relationship or your marriage that you did not experience in the 1st year. And so that challenge in that time frame is going to be, is going to test you. And, even like my pastor Doja say, hey, love isn't love unless it can be tested. So, just understand that there will be things that come forward that are going to test you. You know what I mean? And so let me see. I got one more comment, and we're going to wrap it up. Let me see. Irviana, and I did see, she said, I'm a newlywed too. So you got a little newlywed gang out here. Y'all out here deep right now.
That's right.
So
getting married during COVID. Stress.
You got married during COVID too?
August.
Oh, man.
We were supposed to go to St. Lucia. It was supposed to be a destination wedding, 85 guests, which is not a lot, but it's a lot when you talk about the numbers.
Traveling.
Limited to COVID to 8. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all right. Guess what? There's also a lot of this like negative language in regards to, women want a wedding, but they don't want to be married. Well, guess what? I didn't get a wedding, and I'm happy as all get out. So let's stop this negative thing. Women don't, they just want to get a pretty dress. They don't.
Right.
I didn't get, I had my pretty dress. I had my pretty,
right.
I didn't have that experience, and I'm still head over heels, and I'm still excited to be married. And I brag about my husband all the time. I talk about him all the time. And if I shoot myself in the butt doing so, then oh well. That's what we have to step out of. Don't be afraid to show your love and affection for who you have it for, in the fear that things will fail and you'll look stupid.
Most definitely.
You have to love and love hard, and that's it.
Do you have time to answer this question? I wanted to touch on it before we get on up out of here. From Deja Simone says, someone told me love doesn't keep you in the marriage, growth does. Your thoughts? Now, I have my male perspective, and I would like to know what would you say to a question like that?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would agree that love doesn't keep you in any relationship, right? Like love alone is not what's going to keep you. I think growth is the part of it. I think having shared goals and shared values is a lot to do with it. So my husband and I have the same standards. We have the same expectations. We have the same plan in regards to generational wealth and how we're going to raise our kids to be powerful human beings on this earth. And as a result, that's a part of the reason why we work so well, because we are working. It's work, right? It's a partnership. So we're working towards this goal together. So it allows us to remain level-headed and remain focused and to stay together. So it's not only part of it, which there's a lot of other elements as well. But I think that, Clarence, you're probably better suited to talk more about what it takes to sustain a marriage than I am right now.
Well, I would say that here's the thing. When she mentions growth, and that keeps a couple together more so than love, I would say the wording, it has me taken a little bit, because for me, I think that I envision this. when you decide that, hey, listen, I'm on a path to greatness and this is my path, and somebody recognizes you and somebody says, hey, I want to be along for the ride with you on that path to greatness, right? Y'all both have a vision of what that looks like when you get to your destination. But along the way, when you guys decide to come together, we are going to be partners in this journey, that you have to take pit stops along the way to ensure if you guys still are desiring to reach the same destination together. So I think along the way, a lot of the times when she mentions growth keeps you together, really it's being on the same page and continuing to move in the same direction on the same accord that will keep you together. So people grow, and you think, you are not the same woman that you were when you were 20, and you at 20 weren't the same woman that you were when you were 15, whatever the case is, right? So as you grow, you mature, and you change. That's just a natural way of life. Everything on this earth is meant to evolve. But with that growth, with that evolving, are y'all evolving and still have the same goals and mindsets and destinations that y'all looking to reach together? Because when you do make that commitment to one another, you guys decide to say, hey, what course I was on, I'm aligning it with you. What course you were on, we're trying to align it together and work together to where we're still able to meet our goals, but yet we do it together and we support each other in that. And so with that being said, what happens a lot of times, people grow apart and they don't do that pit stop. They don't assess, hey, are we still on the same path? Are we still moving in the same direction? Are we still, have the same mentality and the same goals and the same outcomes that we are desiring? Because if not, then that means that slowly but surely we're growing apart, and that wide space makes it more easy for something to draw a wedge between the two of us, right? So I think that is where what she was talking about, that keeps you together, that those pit stops, those moments where you had to sit down and say, hey, listen, I want to go back to school, but how does that affect our family? Does that, is that going to take me away from the love we have together? Or if a man says, hey, I want to go back, I want to get my CDLs, or hey, I want to go and become an engineer or electrician, but right now I'm working a good job, but yet I'm not happy. Right. And so all of those things where a person is growing, and even when women have children, say, hey, listen, now that I'm a mother, my thoughts are a lot different now. And I'm feeling a little bit different about my movements and how I want to be an example for my daughter or my son and whatnot. But what does that look like for the two of us? Because the changes that I might want to implement may take me away from the love that we had and the commitment that we had when we first got married. So those are the things that I think, you have to really look at, and having that mindset of, hey, I want to check on my partner and make sure that if I do make a step of growth and evolution, that doesn't disconnect us.
Well said. Well said.
So for everybody right now that's locked in, tell Allison where they can find you, where they can connect with you, where they can get a one-on-one coaching session and check out some of your products. I know you have some free training, some webinars, some little freebies that you'll be able to offer as far as value to the people that are watching right now. Where can they find that?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Allison from Align with Allison, at Align with Allison, ALIGN with Allison, ALISON. I am at Align with Allison on everything: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter.
You name it.
I'm even on Pinterest. I don't even have a Pinterest board, but I just took the name just in case. Feel free to check out the link in my bio. I have an absolutely amazing free training called The Partner You Deserve. It teaches women how to find the right mates and repel the wrong ones. I have a free ebook if you're having difficulty with moving on from an ex, called Move On Sis. That's absolutely free. As well as you'll be able to book a consultation or a one-on-one session by clicking the link on every bio, on every profile that exists. Also have Allison, alignwithallison.com.
Most definitely. And as I said before, guys, please show your love and support by stopping by my website. I'm putting it in the comments right now. It's relationshiphealing.co. Let me get the spelling right. You know how that go. And I'm still trying to work on this pen thing, man. Somebody the other day had showed me how the pen say you press and hold to pin it. And every time I do that, it doesn't.
Right now.
Huh?
So go over relationshiphealing.co.
Uh-huh.
Press and hold. I can't do it because it's your live. You press and hold, and then a little pin should come up, like a picture of a pin.
Nope, nothing comes. Oh wait, oh nope, nothing. Still trying.
Sliding it.
Huh?
Slide it. Like, if you're trying to delete a comment, try that. Slide it.
What'd you say? Flyer?
Like slide it.
Slide
like
it.
If you were to, yeah, try that. It should be press and hold, but maybe it's slide.
Well, we'll have to figure that out for another time. But I'm gonna try all of that. I'm gonna go on a Ghost Live real quick and just try to see. Man, come on, man, figure this out, right? But everybody that's locked in right now, we appreciate you definitely for taking the time out to just be able to join this conversation on does the Black community encourage marriage? Because I think I think I should have changed the question from does the Black community encourage marriage to why doesn't the Black community encourage marriage, because I think we all know that within our community there isn't much of a slide to the left. Let me see. Look, wait a minute. Let me go look. Yeah, nothing. All right. But anyway, but as we know, there is a
It's going to be bugging sometimes. The features are not always consistent.
Right.
Roll out stuff to everybody. So
man, some of my stories be acting up sometime. I go back to check some of the stats when I do polls and stuff, and it be smooth going. I'll be like, man, I should have screenshotted it. But yeah, that's just the world we live in right now. But like I said, when it comes to the Black community, a lot of times we know that there is almost a feeling of discouragement when it comes to, hey, am I ever going to have my chance? What is it really going to be like? Is this person that I meet going to be quality and I'm going to have an actual happy, healthy relationship? And so a lot of these things are based upon doubt, disbelief, and fear, which is a few of the things that I talk about within my online course, Attract the Quality Man in 30 Days, which will be out in about a week or so. So if you want to, or if you're interested in learning the tools, the tips and tricks that are from men, from the horse's mouth, to be able to express what it is that they're looking for in the women they decide to date or marry, then go to my website, relationshiphealing.co. Sign up for my email list. The ones that are part of the email list, I'm going to do a pre-sale. Those as part of the email subscription will get first access to the course and also at a discounted rate. So Allison, again, thank you so much for your time. And if there's anything you want to say before we get on up out of here.
No, just thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad this was the second time that we can get together. And I hope that we can share our platforms again soon.
Most definitely. Everybody that's tuned in right now, thank y'all for your time. And this is another Thursday Night Live on the Male Translations page and Male Translations podcast on YouTube as well. Go follow me on there. I have over 214 videos, all dealing with relationships, giving you comedy, insight, and honesty from a male perspective. Please show your love and support. So if you want to binge watch some things as well on YouTube, that's the place everybody does that. Go check me out on YouTube at Male Translations. All right, so we out of here. Allison, get back to your husband, and I'm gonna get back to my wife, and we'll see you again on these social media streets, man. Keep doing your thing, stay positive, stay blessed, and keep going strong, going hard. I see you, and I just want to salute you. All right.
All right, thank you. Peace.